When she finally danced alone at midnight, everyone regretted the shocking truth. The clock struck 12, an ominous sound echoing through the empty streets, accompanied by the distant howls of the night wind. A full moon hung low in the sky, illuminating the eeriness of the world below. Emma stood at the center of the old, cracked pavement, her heart racing like a runaway train. Tonight was the night they had all whispered about, the night uncanny stories came alive. Could it be true? The legends of the midnight dance had haunted this town for generations. But no one dared to believe, until now. Find her, they said. She was a girl touched by shadows, eyes shimmering with unspoken secrets. People used to laugh at her odd habits, tapping her foot to silent rhythms, often drifting into the thrall of a solo dance like she could hear an otherworldly music that none could. But now, they watched in silence, their breath caught in their throats, the air thick with a mix of excitement and dread. It was said that when the clock struck midnight, those who dared to witness would find themselves ensnared in her mysterious dance. What would happen if you looked too closely? If you dared to join her? A chill ran through the crowd as they recalled the vanished souls from the last dance, friends, neighbors, safety long forgotten. Had they become part of her haunting melody? The tension pierced the atmosphere like lightning. Murmurs rippled through the gathering, eyes darting from one another, the unspoken question hanging heavy: would she, too, be swallowed by darkness? Some clutched each other, scared yet drawn to the spectacle. Others pulled back, faltering under the weight of their own fear. Emma felt the stares penetrating her skin, she could almost taste their astonishment and horror. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crowd pressed in closer, drawn by the magnetic energy of her dance. Emma twirled, and the fabric of her dress billowed around her like whispers of the night, captivating every wide-eyed onlooker. But then the music stopped. A sudden breath of silence fell upon the assembly. She stood still, staring into the depths of the moonlight, and for the briefest moment, the world closed in. In that instant, confusion morphed into a jarring realization. Some shadows intermingled with her dance, shapes lurking in the corners of their collective vision. Gasps filled the air, a wave of disbelief rolling through them. What had they let themselves witness? It was a moment of unimaginable dread, an awakening of nightmares. In their hearts, fear echoed louder than the distant thunder. Just as they were about to turn away, Emma caught them in her gaze, and the unsettling thought hovered: was she inviting them in or warning them away? What truth lay hidden just beneath the surface, waiting to ensnare those too curious to look away? And as the night deepened, they couldn't help but wonder, what would happen when the dance began again? The crowd froze, their faces pale under the moonlight. A single gust rattled through the trees, rustling the leaves, then faded into a tense silence. Emma stood, heart pounding in her ears, feeling something shift around her. It wasn't just the people staring, there was something else, something more sinister in the air. As if summoned by a silent command, shadows flickered and twisted, momentarily taking shape against the dim backdrop. The onlookers recoiled, their breaths hitching, hearts racing. Emma's pulse quickened, she could feel the weight of their fear pressing down on her. It was a fear she hadn't anticipated, nor invited. Why were they trembling? She didn't understand. Her instinct screamed at her to flee, to run from the suffocating gravity of their dread. But the dance, the haunting, intoxicating rhythm pulled her back. The moon became a spotlight, bathing her in ethereal light as she began to sway again, her movements slow and deliberate, like a siren drawing them closer to the edge. She felt the music seep into her skin, guiding her, compelling her to move. "Stop it," someone shouted from the crowd, a sharp voice slicing through the thick tension. "You don't know what you're doing." It was Jacob, the town's schoolteacher, a beacon of reason in their tight-knit community. But the worry in his eyes flared into anger, and his outstretched hand trembled slightly as he pointed at her. "Don't let her take you. Remember what happened before." He glanced toward the absent faces from last year's dance. Shadows of lives forever altered had haunted the town ever since. The scattered crowd murmured in frantic agreement, their collective fear growing arms and legs, wrapping around Emma, squeezing tight. She blinked, her mind swirling as memories of laughter and friendship from before this fear had settled in came flooding back. But now, all she could see were the faces, terrified, pleading, yearning for a way out. Was she truly a monster in their eyes? She wanted to scream, to tell them she was still their Emma, but the fear thickened the air, and her mouth felt dry. Suddenly, the shadows around her seemed to pulse, pulling at her like an unseen tide. The energy shifted again, darker this time, as if the night itself was alive, hungry, drawing from the chaos of their collective fright. She could feel the dance turning. It was no longer just hers. What had started as a free-spirited expression of her soul transformed into something altogether different, more dangerous, a confrontation between light and dark. The cries intensified, growing frantic and scattered. Someone stumbled forward, drawn by an irresistible pull. The crowd gasped, some reaching out to grab their friend, others retreating in terror. "Stop!" Emma shouted, voice cracking through the chaos, but the words felt so small against the overwhelming tide. She could see Jacob's face turn pale, fear mixing with desperation as he reached out for the man pulled by the shadows. A moment of silence hung like a frail cobweb, tension skittering across the pavement as Emma turned her gaze to the moon hanging high above her. The light above felt benevolent yet mocking, watching over the gathering like an indifferent deity. "What have I done?" she whispered. Was the dance a curse or a gift? Would she, too, be trapped in the cycle of the midnight dance forever? As Jacob's voice broke through the madness, a jaw-dropping realization struck her. The dance only ended when someone else chose to join it. What if she had to sacrifice herself to save them all? All eyes shifted to Emma, and she bit her lip, trembling. Would she take that leap, to draw the shadows away from them? Or would their hesitation seal her fate? The stakes were rising, and the dance beat thrummed louder in her veins. What choice would she make, when the moon reached its zenith? And as the clock echoed one more time, resounding through their hearts, a question hovered in the air: what would happen if she dared to unleash the darkness once more? The moon slid further into its midnight position, casting a silver glow that seemed to throb with the escalating rhythm of Emma's heartbeat. As fear gripped her, she felt the shadows surge around her, as if eager to ensnare the next unwitting soul. The urgency of the moment twisted and turned in her gut, a palpable force urging her to choose quickly. I can't let this happen again." The words spilled from Emma's lips, raw and desperate. With each pulse of the haunting music, she visualized the faces, those lost to the veil of darkness before, those who might vanish if she failed to act. It was a nightmare revisiting, clawing at her sanity, and all she could do was hope to break the cycle. "Emma." Jacob's voice sliced through her thoughts, sharp and frantic. "You're not alone in this. We can fight it together." The crowd wavered, torn between the compulsion drawing them toward Emma and the flicker of loyalty binding them to their teacher. Their breaths came ragged, hearts fluttering as they weighed the choice before them: would they support her, or would they stand back and watch? The tension manifested in the air, thickening and crackling like the static before a storm. Shadows slithered closer, weaving in and out of the congregation like the whispers of ghosts demanding to be unleashed. Emma raised her arms, channeling every ounce of resolve she could muster. "Please. You have to trust me," she implored the crowd, her hands trembling at her sides, unsure if she was ready for whatever this dance would demand of her. "I'll fight this. We need to stand together." The uncertainty in Jacob's gaze mirrored the silent queries flaring in the audience. Would they heed her call, or let fear tether them to the past? Moments passed, the air suffocating, before Jacob stepped closer, brow furrowing in determination. "This isn't just on you, Emma," he said softly, the warm glow of his compassion breaking through the dreary shroud. "We will face this darkness as one." The faces of the crowd flickered with uncertainty, a crack in their fear allowing a glimmer of hope to seep in. Emma's heart pounded wildly, a frantic rhythm in sync with the intense shadows swirling about. They were ready, not entirely, but ready enough to lean towards the light rather than shrink back. Then the shadows surged again, ravenous. It felt as though the very ground beneath them quaked, the expectancy of the dance electrifying the atmosphere. Emma felt waves of energy crash into her, spiraling through her veins, both terrifying and exhilarating. Her knees quaked, and the rhythm of the moonlit beat pulsed deeper, entwining her spirit. "Dance! Join me!" Emma shouted, voice desperate yet resolved. She allowed the music to guide her once more, surrendering to its haunting allure. She pushed through the fear and let the energy flow, hoping to break the spell, urging the hopeful to step into the light with her. As the first foot moved forward, it was like a trigger had been released. One by one, others joined her, their movements hesitant but growing in passion. And with every swirl and turn, Emma felt the weight of the dark energy lighten. Could this burgeoning connection defeat the shadows stalking them? But a heartbeat later, a scream shattered the fragile atmosphere, cascading through the dance. The unity of movement staggered to a stop as gasps echoed common, stark recognition spreading through the frightened assembly. A figure, drawn into the depths of the shifting darkness, struggled against an unseen force. "No!" Emma cried out, but the shadows were like a vice grip, pulling at the life they craved. Panic surged through her as realization struck. Only one desperate choice remained to break the cycle. The weight of the moment settled heavily on her shoulders. What if the dance demanded a far greater sacrifice than she had ever imagined? As the moon shone down, casting an eerie glow over the chaos, Emma faced the heartbreaking decision looming before her. To save them all, was she ready to risk everything? The beat of the dance thundered, echoing her fraught thoughts, a relentless reminder that time was running out. And just as she made her choice, a new voice suddenly broke through the crowd, whispering something that changed everything. "Emma, wait, this may not be what it seems." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Whose voice was that, and more importantly, what did they mean by "not what it seems"? The shadows continued their relentless pull, encircling the figure now almost fully enveloped in darkness. Panic clawed at her chest as she fought to maintain focus amidst the chaos. "Who said that?" Emma shouted, searching the crowd, her heart racing. "Show yourself." A flicker of movement caught her eye. From the back, a shadowy silhouette approached, parting the crowd as if they were made of mist. It was an older woman, her features obscured by the silver haze cast by the moonlight. Starlight sparkled in her dark eyes, and an eerie calm seemed to exude from her. "Emma," she called softly, her voice a melodic whisper that momentarily soothed the rising panic. "We do not have the knowledge you think we do. The dance, it is not merely an act. It is a choice, your choice." "What do you mean?" "I need to save him," Emma yelled, desperation pushing her words out like a tidal wave. The old woman shook her head slowly. "Each movement, every step has meaning beyond what you perceive. You must understand the true cost of your actions. This dance, it siphons energy from not just the shadows, but from you as well." The gathered friends glanced at one another uneasily. Murmurs rippled through them, tension seeping back into the air as uncertainty took root. Could this woman be trusted? Everything they had known seemed threatened by the enormity of her revelation. But without the dance, he will be lost. Emma protested, her fingers curling tightly into fists, nails biting into her palms. "I won't let this happen again." "Your heart is strong, but it is tied to the fate of others," the woman replied, voice steady as a rock. "Making your choice blindly will not save anyone. You risk much more than a single soul." The shadows twisted, letting out a deep, resonant murmur, as if mocking her hesitation. Emma felt a chilling shiver run down her spine. The weight of the decision loomed larger than she had imagined, pressing against her resolve like a 1,000-pound boulder. Emma. Jacob's voice brought her back to the moment. We need your strength. Those shadows, they're playing with us. We have to do something. I know. Emma snapped, an edge of panic creeping in. But if she's right, what if we're just feeding them? What if I save him but doom us all? The struggle of conflicting emotions churned inside her like a storm. She could sense the crowd's restlessness, they were divided. Hope battled fear, like two armies colliding in her mind. The figure in the shadows continued to writhe, desperate but simultaneously enticing, the dance powerful yet terrifying. Don't let them claim you. Jacob's shout cut through the thick air. We need you with us, Emma. Suddenly, the old woman thrust her hands outward. You must choose. The dance or the truth? What gives you power? Movement or understanding? The moon's glow flickered, dimming, as though the entire universe held its breath. The darkness spread, devouring the edges of light, and Emma knew she was standing at a precipice. Was it too late? Tomorrow might bring regret, but was tonight about saving a soul or saving herself? As the shadows crept closer, their grip tightening around the figure's struggle, Emma inhaled deeply, her heart pounding in rhythm with the fading dance. What if I danced away from them? Just as she was about to step forward, the woman whispered one last time, the light shines brightest before the darkest hour, remember that. Emma stared into the dark abyss and took a deep breath, ready to break free. But could she really uncover the truth without losing everything? Moments stretched into eternity as the shadows pulsed and swayed like 1,000 restless spirits. What awaited her on the other side of the decision? And would anyone follow her back into the light? Emma's heart raced as she weighed the words hanging in the air. The dance or the truth, each option twisted in her mind like a storm, pulling her deeper into dread. Was it truly a choice? Would choosing one spell doom for the other? In that instant, the piercing echoes of the shadows called to her, whispering promises of power and freedom, but she knew their allure was deceptive. With determination bubbling inside, she felt the tide shift in her heart. I'm not letting them win, she muttered, in a vow to herself. The whispers rose, no longer promises of power but threats of loss, pulling at the corners of her sanity, yet Jacob's fierce gaze grounded her, steadied her. We trust you, Emma. His voice pierced through the fog of her doubt. Behind him, their friends were wide-eyed, desperate, clinging to hope like a lifeline. She could see their faces pale under the shadows, fear etched in each expression. Okay, she breathed, her voice gaining strength. I'll dance, but I won't lose myself. As she stepped forward, the shadows recoiled slightly, surprised by her conviction. They hesitated, swirling in a chaotic display, almost seeming like a living creature contemplating the decision laid before it. The crowd gasped collectively, drawing back, a wave of uncertainty washing over them. Emma felt an electric energy surging within her as she began to move. Each step flowed like water, her body aligning with the rhythm of the dance. It felt primal, familiar, yet dreadfully new. She concentrated, balancing between the essence of movement and the suffocating weight of the truth threatening to drown her. Emma. The old woman's voice broke through. Do not forget, every step you take pulls us deeper into the darkness. But with every twist and turn, Emma cast glances toward her friends, reminding herself what it meant to fight not just for one life but for all of them. She focused on her breath, trying to remember the truth beneath the dance, something hidden all along. Shadows flickered close, wrapping around her ankles, and a chill raced down her spine. She could feel their essence tugging at her energy, draining just a little with every pirouette, every leap. The price for her choice, it seemed, grew heavier by the second. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, and a mix of dread and hope hung in the air like fog. What if the shadows can't be tamed? Someone from the back whispered, breaking the tension. In that moment, Emma hesitated, just for a moment, allowing doubt to creep in again. No. She thought. Not now. With a firm belief, she launched into the dance with renewed vigor, determined to find the light among the darkness. Then she felt it, a pulse in the ground. An unfamiliar resonance. Silence fell over the crowd, holding their breath, as the shadows recoiled. Emma spun faster, igniting a light within her that challenged the darkness. The energy pulsed back at her, a battle forming. Suddenly, she realized this dance was also a rebellion against the shadows. It was her hope pushing against despair, a beacon against the tide. But then, just as victory seemed near, a piercing scream shattered the atmosphere, echoing through the night. Emma faltered, heart dropping, looking around in horror. What was that? The audience gasped, chaos igniting as they turned, eyes wide in disbelief. A figure emerged from the throng, staggering, draped in shadow as if it had just been dragged from the depths of despair. Emma's breath caught in her throat as realization struck. This was no mere shadow but someone lost, a reflection of their worst fears made flesh. "Emma! You have to stop!" shouted Jacob, panic-stricken as he struggled against the throng. "It's feeding off you." And just like that, everything she thought she understood began to unravel, revealing something much darker than she could have ever imagined. This dance, was it truly the path to save them all, or had she unknowingly begun their destruction? As she stood frozen in disbelief, the figure stepped forward, and the truth began to seep into the air like poison. "Emma," it whispered, voice guttural, familiar. "You should have never danced without knowing the cost." What had she awakened? And could she turn back before losing everyone she loved? The figure's eyes glowed like dying embers, dark and hollow, drawing Emma in with a magnetic pull. She felt every heartbeat reverberate through her, a primal rhythm that clashed with the chaos surrounding them. Jacob's voice faded into the background, an echo of desperation that only intensified the fear wrapping around her throat. "Emma," it hissed, each syllable sharp like shards of glass. "Don't you recognize me? We were once so close." Panic flared within her. Could it really be? She studied the creature, trying to peel back the layers of darkness that cloaked its face. Was this someone she loved, someone she had failed? No. This isn't you. She cried. The words slipped through her lips, fueled by anguish and denial. Shadows danced around her, hungry for doubt, eager to extend their grip. "Look closer," it urged, mirroring every ounce of despair she felt. "This is your doing. You awaken the truth in the shadows, Emma. But they want more. They want everything." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, panic rippling through them like a wave. Emma felt their fear prickling at her skin, and in that moment, she caught sight of her friends, eyes reflecting sheer terror. Every glance pushed her deeper into despair. The truth they'd all buried together was crawling to the surface, feeding off their vulnerability. Jacob's voice broke through the cacophony. "Don't let it take you, Emma. You can't listen. It's a trap." But she felt the connection. They were entangled in shadows he couldn't see. A truth she had denied for so long began to unfold before her eyes. The shadows thrived off their secrets. "Emma, remember the laughter? The joy?" The voice was now softer, pleading. "Why hide when the truth can set us free?" The energy pulsing around her thrummed with intensity, crackling like a live wire. She remembered the day they had all laughed under the sun, before everything changed, the shadows creeping in way too slowly for them to notice. The joy they shared now felt like a distant memory, overcast by regret. "No," she faltered, her voice breaking. "I wanted to protect you." Tears cascaded down her cheeks, the truth overwhelming. "The price of protection is silence," it whispered. But was it worth it? With each question, Emma felt her resolve teeter. She spun, redoubling her efforts against the dance, but the shadows coiled tighter around her, each movement growing heavier. Was this truly the battle she had intended to win, or was it simply her own folly? "Stop. Don't feed its hunger." Jacob shouted, unrelenting as he pushed closer through the throng, desperately reaching for her. Behind him, the crowd surged in uncertainty, torn between wanting to flee and being drawn in. Unable to resist, the figure took another step forward, eyes narrowing, drawing strength from Emma's turmoil. "You want to know the truth, Emma? The truth is that you're not strong enough to end this not alone." Emma's chest tightened. Jacob, her friends, they were her strength, but the shadows feasted on their shared fears. With a surge of defiance, she focused on Jacob, their bond anchoring her as she danced. "I won't let you take anyone else," she screamed, a raw emotion flooding through her, igniting a spark deep inside, but the darkness clung to her, squeezing tighter, whispering promises that unnerved her more than ever. "Dance with me, Emma. Together, we can unleash everything you've held back." A terrible choice loomed before her. Would she embrace the darkness to save her friends or risk everything to confront the truth that pulsed in her veins? In the depths of chaos, she caught Jacob's frantic gaze, the hope in his eyes tangling with the certainty of her own betrayal. "Emma!" he shouted, horrified. "You can't let it in." Then, with a sudden jolt, she sensed the shadows shifting, reshaping themselves in response to her every thought. It was a war, both inside her and around her, one that could end in ruin or revelation. As the very ground trembled, Emma felt the heartbeat of their world waver, unsure of which way to bend. What if I'm too far gone? She wondered, every fiber of her being quaking with dread. "Then let the truth take you," it breathed, with the promise of freedom wrapped in venom. As she danced fiercely against the rising tide, the boundaries of her reality blurred into something more terrifying than shadows. At the breaking point, Emma realized every choice she made now could tip the scales. "Together, then," she shouted, heart racing. "Together, we rise or we fall." But could she trust herself to lead them back from this darkness, or was she just spiraling deeper into despair? The shadows roared back, eager to claim her promise, yet in that moment, somewhere in the chaos, she felt it, a flicker of light. What was it, and could it be enough to salvage their souls? Or would she find herself dancing with the very darkness she sought to defeat? The ground shook beneath Emma's feet, an unyielding pulse that echoed the tremors of her heart. Shadows swirled, wrapping around her like smoke, whispering secrets that twisted her thoughts. She caught glimpses of faces, her friends, tormented with fear. They were inches away, yet she felt their distance like a chasm. Her breath came in frantic gasps as she wrestled against the seductive pull of the figure, the dark promise it offered clawing at her resolve. "Remember the fun," it crooned, weaving memories of simpler days into the currents of shadow. "The moments when nothing else mattered. Embrace it, Emma. Let the truth be your guide." "Enough!" she cried, forcing her way back from the brink. Jacob's desperate face, twisted in concern, pulled her away from that abyss. She could not let the creature twist her memories into weapons to use against her. Suddenly, a surge of strength washed through her, igniting a spark of defiance she didn't know she possessed. "The truth won't set me free," she retorted, her voice steadying. "Not like this." But the figure's laughter echoed, a cruel cacophony. "You think you can resist? Look around. Look within." It pointed toward the crowd, where fear morphed into anticipation, souls teetering on the edge of a dark decision. The shadows fed greedily, and Emma could feel their hunger sinking deeper. Jacob stood firm, facing the unseen threat that clawed at the edges of her mind. "Emma. Trust me. You are stronger than this." His voice cut through the chaos, lighting a fire under her despair. But would love be enough to drive back the shadows? She threw her gaze back toward the figure, feeling it draw nearer, its breath hot against her, each ghostly whisper laced with manipulation. "Join me, Emma," it hissed, a seductive tone dripping with temptation. "Together, we could release all you've suppressed, your pain, your fears. Freedom awaits." "Freedom?" Emma spat, shaking her head. "This is binding. You want me to surrender to become a part of you." From behind, she sensed her friends inching closer, drawn toward her light. The connection between them pulsed like a heartbeat, a rhythm at odds with the shadows that clawed for their very souls. "Shut it out!" Jacob shouted as he pushed through the mass. He extended his hand, echoing a lifeline she desperately needed. "Emma, focus on us. Focus on the truth of who we are together." With every fiber of her being, she reached for him. Strength flooded back into her limbs, igniting a flicker of hope. But the shadows swirled violently, trying to snuff it out. "Stay with me," she pleaded, eyes locking onto Jacob's. The maze of darkness shivered at their bond, threatening to unravel, but just as she thought she could shatter the contract that bound them, a loud crack split the air. The earth heaved, trembling again beneath the mounting chaos. In that fleeting moment, the figure lunged forward, its arms outstretched, and Emma felt the shadows clawing at her mind, each memory, each secret, now a deadly trap. "Emma!" came Jacob's voice, but it felt muffled, lost in the consuming darkness. Then, in a flash of desperation, she recalled the laughter, the joy, how it lit the spark of life in them all. "No more secrets!" she yelled, summoning every ounce of strength and honesty she had left. "I choose the truth, even if it hurts." The shadows paused, as if struck by her declaration. For a moment, it was almost peaceful. But then the figure lunged again, a shadowy mass clamoring to consume her. "Join me!" it roared, rage boiling through its voice. The crowd gasped, recoiling as if the darkness had reached out for them too. Emma felt the flicker of light growing stronger. Energy surged through her more than it had before, it radiated out, pushing against the dark entity. "I will not bow," she declared fiercely, but just as that flicker seemed ready to ignite into a blaze of strength, a sharp slice of pain lanced through her heart, an unbearable flashback of a moment lost to time. All that once was twisted together, beautiful but painful. In that split second, Emma realized the shadows had one final trick to play. They were not just shadows of her past, but also of futures yet to unfold. "Will you take the risk?" the figure challenged, its hollow eyes burning bright with unearthly power, her breath hitched in her throat. In that haunting moment, all perspective shifted. The battle was not just for survival anymore, it was about claiming the very essence of who she could be. With every ounce of courage standing on the precipice of truth, she took a step forward into the unknown. "What if I can't handle the truth?" she thought, as the shadows closed in again, hungry for resolution. The crowd waited, breaths held, as the air thickened, and the choice loomed larger than ever. Would they rise or fall together? As darkness encroached, Emma understood, sometimes, it was only through facing the light of truth that they could indeed discover what lay beneath the veil of exploration. But could she handle that revelation when it pulled at the very fabric of their beings? What awaited her on the other side, and did it mean the end, or perhaps a chance for redemption? The shadows coiled tighter around Emma, their whispers transforming into a deafening roar that rattled her very bones. Panic clawed at the edges of her mind as she fought against the oppressive force that threatened to swallow her whole. In that blinding moment, the figure lunged forward again, its dark visage looming larger than life. "Face the truth, Emma," it bellowed, its voice sharp as shards of glass. "What are you really afraid of?" She pressed her palms against her ears, squeezing her eyes shut. What was she afraid of? The unanswered questions ripped through her mind, the possibilities of what lay ahead paralleling closely to her deepest fears. What if the truth shattered them all? What if they were left with nothing but despair? Jacob's face emerged from the fog of darkness, his expression resolute. "Emma. It's not just about you. We are in this together." His words broke through the haze, slicing through the chaotic din. Emma felt the warmth of his voice pull her back, away from the brink. She opened her eyes, steeling herself against the shadows that sought to devour her. Together, she whispered, a mantra forming like armor around her heart. She looked at the faces of her friends, each one a flicker of light in the oppressive dark. "I won't do this alone." The figure faltered, uncertainty momentarily cracking its facade. You think you can stand against me? It spat, disbelief lacing its tone. You believe their presence can save you? It surged forward with a torrent of rage, the shadows swirling as a tempest, but Emma felt the light inside her pulsing in response, a fierce glow against the suffocating darkness. Give me your hand. Jacob shouted, his arm reaching through the chaos. The intensity in his eyes steadied her resolve, igniting a flicker of defiance. With a deep breath, Emma reached for him. In that moment, she felt the collective energy of her friends closing in behind her, their spirits unified against the encroaching shadows. You can't take what isn't yours. She cried, the words a bolt of electricity surging through her veins. We have the truth, and you can't silence that. But the figure erupted in laughter, a sound filled with malice that echoed around them, chilling her to her core. Oh, how naive you are. You think you hold the truth? What if the truth is a lie? The air crackled with tension as Emma felt the weight of its words. What if the truth itself was twisted? What if, in their quest for clarity, they had overlooked something crucial? She faltered for a heartbeat, but Jacob tightened his grasp, grounding her. Don't look back, he urged, unwavering in his belief. We've faced worse. With renewed determination, Emma shifted her stance. You're wrong. She shouted, voice shaking the very shadows that dared to approach. I know who I am. And I know what I stand for. We stand together, you cannot divide us. The shadows recoiled as if pierced by her conviction, the figure's jaw clenched in frustration. Emma pushed forward, feeling the heat of her friends behind her. The strength of their unity was a dawning light, and with it came clarity, a blinding realization that shattered her doubts. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled violently, as if the world itself questioned their resolution. Do you understand what will happen next? The figure hissed, darkness swirling dangerously. Once the truth is uncovered, there's no going back. A flicker of fear flashed through her mind at the thought of what lay ahead, but she shook it off. She wouldn't let memories of pain and regret weigh her down any longer. Let it come. Emma cried, her heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of her friends. We'll face it together. We're stronger as one. As if responding to her call, a surge of energy shot through her, coursing from her friends and into her core. The shadows around them writhed and twisted, unable to withstand the brilliance of their connection. In that moment, the darkness began to recede, revealing glimpses of familiarity in the abyss, a past she would confront head-on, but even as hope blinked defiantly against the oppressive dark, a chilling thought raced through her mind. What if the truth wasn't what they expected? What if their unity uncovered something that shattered everything they believed to be real? The figure screamed in agony, its form distorting as light broke through, yet, it hissed out one last attempt to deter her. But you won't survive what you learn. You'll regret uncovering the real truth. Emma paused, the weight of its words hanging ominously. Was there truly something deeper lurking, something that would tear them apart? A crack of thunder echoed around them, reverberating through their bones. Just as the shadows began to peel away, revealing colors and warmth, Emma felt a chilling realization sink in. If shadows birthed secrets, could the revealed truth break them beyond repair? The path ahead blurred, and Emma's soul quaked. What awaited them? Would the revelation forge them into a stronger bond, or drive them to unbridgeable abysses? As the darkness swayed back, the air hummed with tension. They edged closer to the unknown, and suddenly, everything hung in the balance. Would they emerge awakened, or would the truth consume them whole? The shadows writhed as if alive, pulling back to reveal a fractured landscape laden with echoes of their past. Emma stood at the precipice of a swirling memory, each fragment casting doubt and fear. The air thickened, clinging to her skin, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Where are we? A trembling voice emerged, Mia's, wide eyes darting around at the surreal scene unfolding. I think it's our past, Emma murmured, stepping tentatively into the abyss. The ground quaked beneath her, and she felt her friend's presence tighten around her like a lifeline. This is where we find the truth. Suddenly, a flicker of light burst forth, illuminating a memory of laughter from a simpler time. She could see herself, younger and carefree, dancing under a silver-tinged moonlight surrounded by laughter and melodies. But the joy was eerily juxtaposed with the shadows encroaching around the edges, reminding her of the looming darkness that had altered their lives forever. "Emma, don't forget. Stay focused," Jacob urged, his voice wrapping around her like a comforting shroud. "What you recall will affect everything." The laughter faded, morphing into a mournful echo that twisted around them. Emma closed her eyes, her breath hitching as she remembered the night that had altered everything, the night she had lost her brother. "Why did you leave me?" she whispered into the darkness, desperation clawing at her heart. "Why couldn't you just stay?" The shadows coiled tighter, morphing into figures that whispered her name, hissing about her secrets, her failures. Oh, how they taunted her now. The figure, the one that had first confronted her, returned, its face shifting to become that of her brother S. "It's all your fault," it wailed, a harrowing sound that crawled under her skin. A surge of guilt crashed over her, a tidal wave threatening to pull her under. "You didn't save me. How can you hope to save anyone else? Stop it." Emma gasped, clutching her chest as if to ward off the pain ripping through her. "You're not my brother anymore. This isn't real." But as soon as she spoke, the voice morphed back, revealing the malevolent figure she'd fought since the beginning, slithering closer. It sneered with a twisted satisfaction. "What if the truth is worse than your darkest fears? What if what you believe is just a facade?" "No!" she cried, rage igniting like wildfire. "I will not be bartered with. I refuse to believe you." Flames of defiance surged in her veins as she faced the figure. It shrieked and recoiled, shadows swirling violently around it, but Emma stood steadfast, bolstered by her friend's resolve. "Remember what we're fighting for," Jacob shouted, the strength in his voice reaching her, even amidst the chaos. "We're not alone. Together, we're stronger." "Together," Emma echoed, feeling the warmth of their connection envelop her. As she spoke, memories swirled around her, pain mingled with joy, loss intertwined with love. The truth of their shared experiences spread like an unyielding light, driving back the shadows inch by inch, until they were nearly upon her. But then another thought crept in. What if they reached that light, that truth, and it was more than they could bear? What if it was all a lie, masking something deeper, darker within them? "Emma!" Mia called, pulling her back to the present. "Focus. Don't let it take you down." The darkness throbbed, bending and shifting, echoing their fears. "You still think you control the truth? Imagine if you discover the truths hidden in the darkest corners. What would you do with the fear that follows?" With the fear blossoming in her chest, Emma fought against the urge to retreat. "I'll face it. We'll face it together." Determination surged, but the ground beneath her began to tremble once more. The figure twisted, its voice becoming a sinister hiss that sent chills coursing through her veins. "And when you do, remember there's no going back." Just then, the shadows exploded outward like shattered glass, consuming everything in their path. Emma gasped, the world spinning away as she clung tighter to her. "Friends! It's not over!" she yelled, her spirit igniting in defiance. They pressed onward, hearts pounding, toward the light that was now flickering at the horizon. Hope and dread mingled, creating an unbearable tension as they approached the truth that awaited them, hidden in the heart of the storm. But as they neared, an unexpected realization hit Emma like a freight train. What if we're not ready for what lies ahead? What if regret waits for us on the other side? The darkness surged one final time, shadowy tendrils reaching out in a hungry grasp. Emma felt her breath quicken as uncertainty enveloped her again like a shroud. Time stretched, holding its breath, and in that moment, all that mattered hung in the balance. Would they be shattered by the truth or forged anew under the weight of its revelation? Was there a possibility for redemption, or would they regret ever unearthing it? The future loomed ahead, tantalizing and terrifying. Emma took a deep breath and stepped into the light, heart racing, uncertain of what awaited them on the other side. The light enveloped Emma like a warm embrace, pushing away the shadows clinging to her heels. As she stepped forward, she felt a shift, the weight of darkness peeling away like layers of forgotten grief. The world around them flickered with color, vibrant and alive, her friends holding hands, forming a solid wall of hope behind her. "Emma," Jacob called, determination carved into his features. She turned just in time to see the shadows hesitate, their smothering grip slackening. "We're here. Together. Remember your strength." The warmth seeped into her bones, filling the cracks the darkness had etched into her soul. She glanced back at the swirling void from which they emerged. The echoes of doubt faded, drowned by the rhythm of their united heartbeat, which matched the tempo of life itself. With every step forward, memories flooded back, laughter amongst friends, joy shared under the stars, and the moments of glimmering hope that had once felt overshadowed. No longer chained by guilt, she felt the pulse of each memory strengthen her resolve. They were pieces of her identity, not burdens to bear. "What lies ahead?" a voice whispered, dark and enticing, pulling at her newfound courage. "What if the truth harms them as much as it has harmed you?" Emma closed her eyes for a brief moment, grounding herself. "I can't hide from the truth anymore," she replied, voice steady. We faced the darkness. "Now, let us unveil what holds those shadows together." The shadows stirred, morphing into twisting shapes, lurking in fear of the light. "You're all fools. The truth will sink your hearts." They shrieked, but Emma felt their power waning. They were bound by the chains of their own shadows. As she opened her eyes, she saw the silhouettes shifting, pulling the forgotten and the lost from the edges. The faces materialized, twisted yet familiar. Friends long gone, distant echoes from laughter that once rang through their shared lives. Emma's breath caught as she recognized the faces entwined in shadow and light, reflecting her own fears. "Is this where you find your courage?" the figure that had first taunted her asked, now softened by the light. "To confront your insecurities, those memories that haunt you?" With her friends beside her, she knew the answer. "Yes. I choose to remember. I want to let the shadows control me." The crowd cheered, their voices nodded together, resonating with strength. "In unity, we'll face whatever comes next. Together." They echoed, and just like that, the overwhelming desire to confront the pain surged through her. She spun around, breaking the barrier of shadows. She grasped her brother's face in her mind, the moment of loss that had gripped her heart, and spoke softly. "I loved you. I never stopped loving you. The pain your absence, it taught me resilience. I have to share that love with everyone here." With each heartfelt word, the shadows shuddered, and the memories shifted. The edges of the darkness blurred, fracturing as the crowd bonded deeper, stronger. They each echoed names, memories, and love, each shared truth clawing back at their fears. "What will you do with the truth now?" The figure spoke, a trace of vulnerability. "Will you fight or will you yield?" Emma stepped forward, heart unguarded. "We'll embrace it. It made us who we are. We're stronger together." As the final words left her lips, light broke through like sunrise after a long night. The shadows screamed, retreating, twisting into wisps of smoke, dissipating into the crisp air. With the weight of confrontation lifting, Emma turned to face her friends. Hope radiated in their eyes, each cherishing the renewed bonds forged in strength. They were no longer defined by fear or the pain of shadows, but by unity and love. She shared a glance with Jacob, who smiled back, pride shimmering in his bold gaze. "Are we ready?" he asked, embracing her hand. "More than ever," she grinned, voice steady, full of renewed purpose. As they stepped into the light together, Emma felt the warmth of each connection, the truth of her heart intertwining with theirs, weaving a tapestry of resilience and hope. Tonight's dance was not the end. It was a rebirth, the bright reclaiming of who they were, and who they would continue to be. In the distance, echoes of laughter rose like a symphony, ringing across the streets now freed from shadows. With the moon shining brighter than any other night, they marched forth into their new reality, prepared for whatever truths lay ahead. This was their moment, an eternal dance with life, together. If you love this finale, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let your voice be heard in the comments. Flood that section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. Your support means everything, and we can't do it without you.